from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement. And on the non-Canadian content,
overnight, entire factories in Germany, Mexico, and South Korea went quiet. Orders vanished. Forklifts rose mid-shift. Trump's massive new tariffs, some as high as 35%, hit like a wrecking ball. And just like that, 7 countries took their business and billions of dollars north to the border. Jobs moved, deals flipped, supply chains rewired. So here's the real question. Is America losing its grip on global trade right before our eyes?
Industry throughout all of North America, Mexico will have a very big
So
impact.
what U.S. exports to Canada will be affected will become more expensive.
Well, he's going to announce that today. I didn't see the last.
It was like someone hit the brakes hard. One day, German auto parts were flowing smoothly into Detroit, and the next, they weren't going anywhere. That's what happened when Trump slapped a 25% tariff on German car parts. Just like that, orders from the US stopped. Factories in Munich and Wolfsburg, which used to hum with movement, suddenly fell quiet. Forklifts sat still, production lines halted, and workers were left staring at uncertain futures. You could practically feel the tension across the floor. Jobs, families, and entire communities hanging in limbo. But Germany didn't sit around and sulk. Instead, they moved fast and smart. They picked up the phone and signed a massive $10 billion green auto deal with Canada. It wasn't just about survival, it was about adapting. And it worked. GM Canada's plant in Oshawa, which had seen better days, brought back 350 workers. Over in Hamilton, warehouses expanded, adding another 200 jobs. What used to head toward Michigan was now crossing the border, heading straight into Ontario.
Office project in Alaska. It is a partnership that supports 100 jobs here at AI Industries in Surrey, British Columbia. This just one piece of nearly $800 billion a year in trade between the United States and Canada.
It was a bold shift, but it made sense. Canada was ready to receive what the US no longer wanted, and for Germany, it meant keeping factories alive and workers employed. For Canada, it was like hitting the jackpot: skilled labor, new investment, and a deeper relationship with one of Europe's industrial giants. It's a win-win, the kind of thing that shows how quickly trade can pivot when policies get in the way. Denmark felt the hit too, just in a different way. The country has built its reputation on clean energy. Think massive wind turbine blades and sleek solar panels. But when a 30% tariff suddenly made those green exports too expensive for US buyers, Denmark's energy industry faced a serious blow. They could have panicked and pulled back, but instead, they looked west, not across the Atlantic, but a bit higher up. That's when Canada stepped in. Denmark secured a $1.5 billion deal with Canada, and things took off from there. Engineers packed their bags and headed to Halifax and Regina. Giant wind turbines that were originally bound for Florida were rerouted straight to Saskatchewan. In just a month, exports to Canada shot up by 65%. That kind of shift doesn't happen by accident. It happened because both countries saw the opportunity and jumped on it. Back in Denmark, it was a sigh of relief. 900 jobs saved almost overnight. But what's even more impressive, Canada didn't just buy, they built. The deal created 1,100 new jobs in Canada, from engineers to technicians to local logistics teams. You had European innovations meet Canadian opportunity, and the result was cleaner energy and stronger economies on both sides. That's the thing about global trade. One door slams shut, and if you're fast and flexible, another one opens. Germany and Denmark could have been caught in the crossfire of politics and tariffs, but they turned it into something positive. In Canada, Canada saw a chance to boost its green economy and took it. South Korea's battery industry got hit hard. Companies like LG Chem and Samsung SDI, some of the biggest names in electric vehicle battery production, were suddenly slapped with a 20% tariff on anything headed for the US. That's no small change. Billions were on the line, and the EV race that had been heating up between the world's major players suddenly felt like it hit a roadblock. But instead of getting stuck in the mess, South Korea made a bold move. They teamed up with Canada, specifically with Northvolt, the clean energy battery manufacturer making waves in the industry. They signed a $1.7 billion deal, one that immediately changed the game. Instead of sending 500,000 battery modules to the US, those shipments were rerouted straight to Windsor and Hamilton in Ontario. In Canada, the reaction was quick. Plants kicked into double shift mode to handle the incoming battery production, and 700 new jobs opened for local workers. That meant real people, technicians, machine operators, warehouse teams, getting steady work in a growing sector. For South Korea, it was about keeping their battery factories alive and their workers busy. Over 3,000 jobs back home were kept safe because of that pivot. It was one of those moments where two countries saw what they could do together and made it happen, fast. The electric vehicle race didn't slow down, it just changed lanes. Instead of driving straight through Detroit or Atlanta, it swerved north and plugged right into Canada. This wasn't just about shipping batteries, it was about forming a new supply chain for the future of transportation. With climate goals tightening and EVs taking over roads everywhere, South Korea and Canada positioned themselves right at the front of that line. Things weren't looking too bright for France either, especially in the hydrogen energy sector. French companies built hydrogen electrolyzers, a key part of clean energy systems, were suddenly staring down a 30% tariff from the US. It was enough to nearly halt production altogether. For a moment, it looked like a major setback for one of Europe's most promising green industries. But France didn't waste any time waiting for things to turn around. They moved quickly and inked a $1.2 billion hydrogen deal with Canada. That deal rerouted their high-tech electrolyzers to Quebec and Ontario, where Canadian clean energy projects were just waiting for the right boost. On top of that, France's wind systems, originally planned for southern US states, found a new home in Nova Scotia. The deal sparked something bigger than just trade. About 250 French engineers flew to Montreal to lead the setup and installation. At the same time, Canadian workers started getting trained in France's advanced hydrogen technologies. It became a true exchange of knowledge and innovation. In the end, France managed to save 1,000 jobs, and Canada added another 850 positions in their own energy sector. It's amazing how quickly things can shift. What looked like a crisis turned into collaboration. France didn't just hold on, they expanded their reach, and Canada got one step closer to becoming a global hub for clean energy. When the US slapped a 30% tariff on raw minerals like iron ore and lithium, Australia felt it instantly.
Watch it for 8 hours, you'll see on average we've got 10 ships arriving and 10 ships leaving. We did about 160 million tons of cargo last year. 75% of that is those bulk commodities.
This wasn't just a blow, it was a shock to the system. Australia had long been one of the world's top suppliers of these resources, especially to American manufacturers. But overnight, deals that once brought in billions were hanging by a thread. Mines paused, exporters panicked, and thousands of jobs looked like they might vanish. Australia didn't sit still. They regrouped and launched what they call the Northern Stars Initiative, a massive $3.5 billion minerals partnership with Canada. It was bold, fast, and exactly what they needed. The plan was simple. Instead of shipping minerals like iron ore and lithium to California and other US destinations, they'd reroute them to Canadian ports like Vancouver and Thunder Bay. And Canada welcomed the shift with open arms. Steel mills in Ontario and British Columbia got the green light for upgrades. That meant more jobs, more output, and a stronger Canadian manufacturing base. Iron ore that would have gone into US construction now powered Canadian infrastructure. But the biggest game changer was lithium, one of the hottest commodities in clean tech. That same lithium is now flowing into Ontario and being used in electric buses and next-gen batteries. Australia didn't just save face, they saved over 2,100 mining jobs and strengthened their economy. This partnership with Canada wasn't just about trade, it was about building a new supply route in a world that's shifting fast toward clean energy and away from fragile US-centric chains. Canada and Australia both walked away stronger, proving that when global trade rules shift, smart countries shift with them. So what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.